timetable now?
Yeah, so I was informed today that we had a fifth player, and so I was informed that certainly he would be pulled from practice and competition. However, the investigation has concluded, and so for our football team, you know, we feel like this brings a big part of closure for us. So now we can really just focus the next 48 hours on, preparation for Rice. So, you never want to hear about a young man being pulled from practice and competition. But I think we've talked about this. There's accountability and responsibility, and that will ensue here over the next week or so. But again, I think from my perspective, the most important thing now is that we have some closure, and we can move forward knowing that we can prepare our football team.
And is it your understanding that the next step then is hearings before honor code committees?
Yes, and I'm basing this on my knowledge of how the honor code has worked in my time here at Notre Dame. So I'm assuming if they follow the same process here, that the next step would be first they're obviously presented with the charge or inquiry, and then the hearing itself.
Can you tell us who the fifth person is?
I don't know if I'm at liberty to do that.
If I ask you if a player was at practice today, can you tell me, was Ilo Hardy in practice today?
He was not at practice today.
Were any other players missing?
There were no other players missing.
With the investigation concluding, do you have any idea more of what you'll get out of those four guys, if at all? Or the five now, I guess?
I'm sorry?
With the investigation ending, is there any more kind of information about when you might get those four guys, if at all, back?
No, I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but I do know that we are now moving very quickly because we've concluded the investigation. Now it's, I think, as Eric mentioned, my knowledge of how our process works is now we would, obviously adjudicate, rather quickly.
So Brian, you're pretty sure that there can be no more, the investigation's done and you don't think any other players could possibly be pulled in at this point?
Yeah, I've been informed that this investigation regarding these matters has been closed.
Brian, on the field, obviously a win, and I would say after that, a clean game by your team. What do you look for in an opener, especially with so many new faces for your team this year?
I think like everybody else, you want to get off to a good start. Fundamentals are important. You want to stay away from, the costly turnovers and sloppy football, I think, in the opener. You want to know that all the work that you put in, is paying off a little bit, that we've put in since January. I think we have to have good quarterback play, right? I think we want to see a progression there, and some confidence for some young players on defense. I think if that comes out of a win, obviously it's going to be a great day for us.
Coach Van Gorder, I think, mentioned in January he likes to coach from the sideline. Obviously, it changed from last year. Will he be on the sideline, and who will be up in the booth for your staff?
Yeah, he'll be on the sideline. In terms of the booth now, Coach Elliott will be up in the booth, and we'll have graduate assistants up in the booth assisting Coach Elliott up in the box.
Until Denbrock.
Coach Denbrock will be up in the box, and Coach LaFleur will be up in the box.
Is Mike's health still on a positive arc where he's getting stronger and able to do a little bit more?
Yes, I would definitely say that, he's been, in our morning meetings and our evening meetings, and, we're putting in about 14, 15-hour days, and he's been in here every hour. So I would say I have not seen anything different from him relative to his health from where he was last year. So I would say he's back to 100%.
practiced in the stadium today.
I did, yeah.
How do you feel the turf is working itself out?
I think we're getting that kind of play that we were looking for, really. I can tell you it's about 10 to 15 degrees warmer in the stadium than it had been in years past. It is warm in there. It definitely makes a difference. So I'm glad we've been in there and become more acclimated to the heat. You know, that the rubber and sand definitely makes a difference in there. But we feel a lot more comfortable in the surroundings and the field, and it's a great surface. We're excited.
Brian, in talking about all the defensive line options during the preseason, Chase Hounsell's name hasn't come up. Has he been healthy throughout
Yeah.
preseason practice?
Yeah, he has. It's just, you know, you're looking at, you know, an inside guy really fighting against, you know, some size issues there. He's worked his butt off to get, you know, to that level. But, you know, Justin Utupo's done a really good job for us and has kind of, you know, been that guy that has, I think, you know, taken maybe some of his, you know, potential reps as a veteran player. Justin's done a really nice job. We feel like his last 10 days to 2 weeks has been really good. He'll be able to spell Sheldon a little bit at the 3 technique. And then it's going to be, you know, a committee of big guys at that shade. You know, Jones and, you know, Cage is going to have to be in there. You know, Matuzak, I keep saying Matuzak. I wish I had Matuzak. Matuzak, yeah. What is it? No, it's not Matuska. It's
Matuska?
Matuska. You're even wrong. Matuska.
Healthy and ready to go?
Matuska is, yes. So, you know, you're talking about guys that are like 290 to 300, and Chase is just kind of off that a little bit in terms of his size. And he, you know, and then so do you try him at that end position, and then we've got some skill guys at that. So he's just kind of been, he's been working his butt off, and we're going to need him. He's just not in that rotation right now.
And Counsell, I mean, considering when he suffered his knee injury, it's been less than a year.
Yeah.
Has that bothered him? Has he been?
No, he's been full go. It's just, you know, in terms of the way we're playing the defense, you know, it's definitely been more towards, you know, handling spread teams, and that's why, you know, we feel like we'd be better suited with some more athleticism.
Even against a run-first type team like Rice, or at least they were last year?
Yeah, but they're in open sets. Yeah, they're in open sets.
Brian, there were some positive tweets from your players about Maurice Claret's visit. I wondered what your takeaway was from that visit.
He really was able to, I thought, take his personal story and by telling it firsthand, there's obviously a connection when it's not a seminar or you know, points to live your life by, you know, with a psychologist or a doctor, and no disrespect to those that are in that field, but when it's that person telling the story, there is a connection, and he's a football player, and he was really able to talk straight with our players, and I think there was a real connection. I think one of the things that he did say, if you don't mind me, you know, getting into this just a little bit, and this is what he learned. He said, and he knew a lot about Notre Dame, and what impressed the guys is that he came in with a monogrammed pair of Notre Dame shorts and shirt. I mean, he was dressed for the occasion, and he paid a lot of attention to Notre Dame and knew Notre Dame and talked about Notre Dame. And so I think that did a lot to get the attention of our guys. Listen, our guys listen to incredible lectures every day from great faculty. They're not easy to get, you know what I mean? They're a pretty sharp group. And what really got our guys is when he said, you can't come to Notre Dame if both feet aren't in South Bend. You can't have one foot in Florida and 1 foot in South Bend. You can't have 1 foot in Texas. You got to be all in Notre Dame. And that really resonated with our guys, and I think that really, I think, sent a strong message to our group.
Coach, getting back to the investigation for a second, have you been informed if any former players are involved?
No. No, I'm on a, I think you guys know, I've been informed, and our administration, Mary Ann Core, has been great. She's called and reached out to me, asking if I needed any information. She was available to provide me any information. So she's been great. And Jack, when he needs to, you know, he's calling me and updating me if there's a player, you know, in terms of, you know, going across campus and seeing our provost, or, you know, they're keeping me informed, but I don't have any information, you know, any detailed information about the investigation.
Brian, you initially thought it wasn't a good idea to bring the guys into meetings because you thought they would be distracted themselves.
Yeah.
Is there any value at this point in doing that, knowing that there's a conclusion on the horizon?
I think we're probably, you know, we're closer to that now. You know, we'll start to consider now next week, you know, if this process moves quicker. That's a conversation that I'll have with Jack about, you know, if this thing is going to move quickly. You know, those are questions that I'll have, and we'll have that conversation.
We haven't talked to you yet since the captains were named. What made you decide to go with 4 full-time guys rather than some of the other options that were on the table on Tuesday?
You know, I went back and forth. You know, as I said before, we have a huge redshirt junior class. And then we have some sophomores that are really dynamic leaders as well. But I didn't want to forget about our seniors as well. So we had really 3 different factors involved here as it relates to the captains. And some that weren't going to be named captain maybe this year that might be captain next year. In other words, we could have some captains this year that are underclassmen that may not be captains next year. You can come on in. He's a good kid. You want to come on in?
No, is this for the fellowship?
No, but you want to come on camera with me? All right, come on in. Come on in, my man.
Great coach. Coach Kelly.
Yeah.
Shout out to y'all.
Any questions? Anything for the
Sure.
media?
Let's beat Rice and get better every day.
All right, that's what I'm saying. He's fun. He's fun, John. He's not playing right now, but he's going to play by the end of the season. Unfortunately, he's probably a step away from getting on the field. He had a great week of practice, and he's coming. But he's fun to be around. But going back to the captains. So we had those 3 factors, but when it really came down to is that I had 2 seniors that really kept, really stepping up in times when we needed things accomplished in our unity council, and that was Cam McDaniel and Austin Collinsworth. So those with the 2 clear choices amongst our team had always been, the 2 guys that we picked. Martin had always been a strong voice on our offense, and Sheldon had always been that strong voice on defense. So we thought the combination of those 4 was the best situation for 2014.
Coach, you've talked about how every year is a different team, even if there's a carryover. Is there been any consistency in your career as far as when you start to get a pretty good idea of what this particular team is going to look like?
Oh, yeah. I know. I generally have a good idea by sensing the locker room, getting a feel for the locker room. Sometimes you need to, prompt it, and sometimes you have to massage it. Sometimes you have to work it a little bit. But generally, it's when you really get a sense for how your locker room is configured, provided you have enough players to get the job done. But I get a sense for what kind of year we're going to have when I get a pulse of what the locker room's like. And we're not there yet. It's too early in the season. We got to see how we handle some adversity, how we come back in those kinds of situations before I'll really be able to gauge it.
Has it been any different this year because it is such a young team? Does it make it maybe a little bit more difficult because you're still learning about the guys?
Well, yeah, well, it's going to be during the season. There's going to be some times during the season that we're going to have to slow down and have some conversations with some guys and make sure that, you know, we don't lose them. Because the only way you can continue to move this group ahead is that they don't lose their confidence. We're going to have to continuously make sure that they know that we believe in them and we've got confidence in them. And there'll be some tough times for them, but, you know, we'll have to make sure that they believe that we know that they can get the job done. They're going to get better. We just need to have some early success with them.
I mean, you sort of look at the schedule this year as really the ideal here. I mean, you had the summer thing for the first time. You have
Yeah.
2 bye weeks. And is this just like, we always talk about how hard the schedule is, but in terms of the format, does it break perfectly for a young team that you're going to need to spend a lot of time with?
Perfectly would be maybe some other teams. I don't know if I'm going to give you perfect. But I do say that our first quarter, and I think our first quarter, if you break this down into threes, right, our first quarter is a manageable first quarter. And if we can do a really good job in the first quarter, we get a little bit of a break there. I think it's a good way to start the season. We need to do a really good job in the first quarter, get off to a good start.
Thanks, guys.
All right?